Probably the most familiar face in the Kathak scene, the UK Kathak scene right now, is Akram Khan. But just as prolific, just as creative is the choreographer Gauri Sharma Tripathi, who has choreographed a lot of Akram's works with him, from Polaroid Feet through to Gnosis, but who is also a choreographer of her own company, huge number of projects, and one of which right now is Vava Girls, which is this big Bollywood musical coming to Sadlers Wells. Gauri, how did you get into Kathak dance?
Well, the tradition of Kathak, which means katha, a story, it's a tradition of storytelling which started from the North India, and I was born in the state of Uttar Pradesh, which has been sort of the basket where Kathak dance and the gurus started creating work, and how the connoisseurs of music and dance came out and really helped Kathak develop and grow into the form that it is. I learned from my mother and my guru, as I call, this interesting relationship as a mother and as a guru as well. And she taught me from a very young age. So I was dancing, I guess, when my mother was carrying me. And then used to accompany her. I basically used to hang out with her in rehearsals. And I just enjoyed it.
Was it quite common for women to be gurus?
Kathak was predominantly a male-dominated. Kathakar is a male denomination for a male performer. And it is a tradition, predominantly the male from one generation to the other. Very few women really take up the form, but now more and more it's happening. But in the earlier days, post-independence in India, we really didn't see that much. So my mother was one of the few dancers who came from a Brahminical family, from a Brahmin family, and took up dance, even though my grandfather never supported it. He didn't like my mother dancing. But then over a period of time warmed up to the idea, and then that was fine. Whereas in the southern belt, you find music and dance part of a grooming of a woman, which becomes very much an integral part of how a girl grows. So it's quite an interesting shift in how Kathak developed and how Bharatanatyam developed.
Do you think there's a sense in which we're seeing a sort of pioneering phase in South Asian dance, sort of comparable to, say, the beginnings of modern dance in the 20th century, and that maybe that's why women choreographers are possibly driving the art form more than men?
I think it is very much connected with the confidence of living a life as a woman, A, and practicing a form, B, and being able to express it in a choreographic genre. And I think more and more people in the modern times, as I said, are coming into choreography as well. And therefore, you're seeing a lot of educated women coming in to learn the form and probably also research and articulate it in a different methodology.
What kind of an effect has Bollywood had on Indian dance?
It's snapshots. It's snapshots of various sensibilities, of salsa, of tango, of Indian folk, movement of Kathak coming in. So you see a snapshot of a lot of influences and images, which is what makes Bollywood now. And it's about celebration, it's about glitter, it's about spark, it's about dynamism, and it's about being part and present in that moment here and now. And as I say, it's truly a celebration. So Bollywood dancing, I would say, is out there without an apology. There is no apology. And even if it has a popular feel, it is there. It is very much held as a popular form and very much celebrated and practically worshipped in India and around the world, actually.
Could you tell me a bit about how you've absorbed modern influences, outside influences into your own choreography?
I'm still searching. I'm still searching within my form, because I find it so fascinating every time you stand in front of the mirror, or even if not, it's about the body and how you feel the movements coming out, the dynamics of the movement, the speed at which the movements are articulated, the softness, the stillness of the body. And I think that's just been my own journey in finding those contemporary language, the modern language. And of course, projects do help. When you come into, for example, Vava Girls that we are working on, which is a new musical with Sadlers Wales is coming up with, which has got a marriage of Bollywood and Kathak. Again, it's finding out those, hidden treasures of the form, which are there. You see it every time, but it never registers. So how do we pick those up?
Could you tell me a bit of the story of the musical?
See, the story is about old school of dancing, which is a dance school of Mujra dancing, which was very much grounded by the Baijis, who were actually the people who really saved the art form, because they talked about poetry, music, dance, and nuances. So it's a story about a lady called Suraya who moves from India and runs a dancing house here in UK, in East London. And there comes a feisty young girl who talks about Bollywood and dances out her in complete extravaganza. She dances, whereas the lady from the classical tradition is much more grounded, has much more of a gravity. And so it's a dialogue of two different stylistic approaches of what the dance form is. So it's Suraya who holds the classical dance form of Kathak, because that was the tradition of the Baijis historically, how that was maintained. And there comes Sita, who's a young, feisty girl from north of England and who comes to who comes to London to learn from Suraya. So there was that, it's a dialogue between an old and a new school. And what is it which finally leads as a conclusion? So you all have to come to watch it.